Hey guys, Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. I've been doing a bit of fabric shopping recently and I have some really gorgeous fabrics that I'm very excited about. I thought it'd be fun to show you what fabrics I've picked up and the projects that I have planned for them. I feel like I'm at one of those phases where I have way more sewing ideas than I have time to sew, but that doesn't mean that my brain stops, and it doesn't mean that I stop getting excited and buying fabrics and thinking about all the things that I can make with them. I've been doing a bit of fabric shopping recently, some in person and some online, and I've got a few things I'm particularly excited about. The first are some fabrics for some June shorts by Helen's Closet. I recently made a pair of these shorts that I absolutely love. I particularly like the petal leg design, so there's two views of the shorts of this, and one is a crossover petal section that is not attached at the side seam, only at the top of the waistband, but the two sections overlap, and that creates a really cute and unique design. But also it means that the whole of the shorts are a lot more floaty and open. They tend to just move around and give you a bit more space when you're sitting down, when you're squatting, when you are just changing position. I also just really think it's a cute and pretty detail on there. There is also some binding that goes around the edge, which I think gives you an option of a little bit of a pop of color, something a little bit interesting to add to it. And I've really wanted to make some more shorts, and I've got a couple of fabrics that I think will be perfect. I picked these up in Ditto Fabrics down in Brighton. I had a day where I went down to the south coast, had a fun time with my husband, did a little bit of walking into the fabric shops, but I only picked things up from this particular shop. And I had this project in mind, and so the first fabric that I found is this one. So this is probably a little bit different for my style. I think the colors are very much my kind of colors, but it does have almost like an animal print feel without being animal print. It reminds me a bit of Where the Wild Things Are, the Maurice Sendak children's book. So hopefully you can see, I'll pop an image up, you can see what I'm talking about. But I feel like this would be really fun for a pair of shorts. I'm very much thinking loungewear. I want to be wearing them at home, and I have been really appreciating the other shorts that I have, and I really don't have enough loungewear shorts in my wardrobe at the moment, elastic waist shorts to wear at home. Both just like, you know, generally round during the daytime, but also to bed. And I feel like this would be a really fun one with a bit of contrast on the binding. And so I picked up this fabric, which is a linen. It's a dead stock Italian linen fabric that I think will really bring out the bright orange on there. I feel like it's a really fun contrast. And then I also just want to make a pair in this linen. I'm a fan of linen shorts. This is a very soft, lightweight linen. As you can see, there's a little bit of drape to it. It almost feels like a viscose linen, but it is just a really lovely washed linen. It's a great orange color. You can really see that linen texture on the fabric, which may or may not be coming across in the video, but I'll tell you that it is there. It does feel really wonderful against the skin. I think these two are going to have quite a different feel. So the idea with this one is I'll just make the shorts with the same matching binding, and then I'll use this binding on the other ones. I feel like these ones, because it's a drapier, softer fabric, it will just have a bit of a softer feel to those petals. And I think the cotton poplin fabric, this one will just have a little bit more structure and maintain the shape a little bit more. I think they'll both be very comfortable. I think they'll be pretty different, and I think they'll be very fun to wear anytime the weather is warm. I also picked up a couple of fabrics in the recent Sew Me Sunshine sale. So they celebrated their 8th anniversary and they had a discount, and of course I was going to take advantage. I do buy a lot of fabrics from them, so it seemed like a good opportunity. And they had also recently put out some really beautiful fabrics I was interested in checking out. The first one is this. This is a gingham fabric. It's 100% linen. This is, I would say, a lightweight, but it has just a little bit more buoyancy to it. It's a little bit more bouncy. When you fold it, it doesn't really crease in. It keeps a little bit of roundness. I really love this kind of linen fabric, and I haven't actually washed this yet, but I think it's going to end up particularly soft with washing and wearing. It reminds me very much of Merchant & Mills type linen and Blackbird Fabrics linen, yarn dyed linen, both of which I really do love. And it does have this gorgeous gingham color. It's like a coral and a beigey background. I think the colors really pop together. I like the scale of bit that I think from a distance, you just get that sort of corally pink color, but when you get up close, you can see all the detail on there. It's really lovely fabric, and what I want to do with this one, I want to make a dress designed by Sarah, who has a YouTube channel, Sewing Therapy, which you are probably familiar with. She does sew-alongs. They're just really beautifully paced, really well lit, very calming, very relaxing. Really enjoy her sew-alongs. But she has designed this, I want to say it's called the tie dress. It might not be more complicated than that. I feel like in my head it's got more of a complicated name. I'll pop a picture up so you can see. The idea of this dress is that you can tie it a whole load of different ways. I think it's really cool and interesting. So it's got these basically 4 ties, 2 at the front and 2 at the back, and you can either tie them together, sort of wrapping the front one first and then the back one around the front, or vice versa. You can tie it 2 at the sides to get a little bit of just cinching in at the waist. There's a whole range of ways you can wear it backwards. You can tie it more of like a diagonal. It's really interesting to watch videos where she shows different ways that you can tie this dress and wear it differently. I will say very much across the board when I look at reviews, the original sizing that is recommended comes up really oversized, like way oversized. And looking at another video she's made, she talks through like how the different sizes might fit you. I'm very much going to focus on the finished garment measurements, and I think I'm probably going to size down a couple of sizes from like the recommended based on my measurements, just for personal preference, because I don't want it to be too oversized. But I think it'll be a fun project. From what I understand, it seems pretty straightforward to put together. I think it will be interesting and fun to have a dress that I can wear in different ways, and it will feel a little bit fresh depending on what I choose to do with it. Reminds me a little bit of the Kielo wrap dress by Named Clothing, which you can tie in a variety of ways, and I appreciate that about it, though I do tend to have like my one favorite. But I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be interesting to make a pattern by Sarah. I think it'll be nice to support a small and new and growing sewing pattern company. So I'm curious to check it out, and I will report back. And the other fabric that I got from Sew Me Sunshine is an Indian block print fabric. This is a new thing for them, stocking Indian block prints. I really like Indian block prints. You will know this if you've been watching my channel for a little while. And I decided to go with this print. I think it's a very pretty, vibrant, colorful floral. I like all the bright colors on there. It's a lovely soft blue background. It is very much the classic Indian block print fabric and a extremely lightweight cotton fabric with really wonderful movement, drape, really soft, really floaty. I think this is going to make a gorgeous blouse. And what I want to do with this one is make another new to me pattern company pattern, the Kaolin Boho Blouse by Caledonian Dreamin. I had to check because it is a new one to me. What I really love about this blouse, I mean, it has so many beautiful feminine details. I think to some degree they're going to get a little bit lost on this fabric, I admit. But I feel like if it works well for this, I do also want to make it in a solid printed fabric. But I think it is really beautiful. So the details about it here, there is gathering, a lot of gathering above the bust line, around the sleeve as well. There are these really beautiful pin tucks into the sleeves. I love the shape of the sleeve. I love that there's a little necktie. I think that's always a really nice, pretty, feminine touch. What I do want to do on this one though is I want to add an additional channel around the waist with the drawstring so that I can just bring it in a little bit at the waist. And I think that will mimic the tie on the neckline quite well. I think it will look like it makes sense all together, but I will have to play around with where I want to place that tie. So I think I'm probably going to end up making the blouse, giving myself the fabric that will become the channel, and then decide where I want that channel to be once I've made it. And then I can just copy that over to other pattern pieces if I want to make this in the future and in the same way. But I think that would be a really gorgeous blouse. I've been definitely getting into my blouses, definitely enjoying things with those lovely, soft, feminine details. I think it will work really well with this fabric because it is so lightweight. I think it will gather nicely, but it will also just kind of drape and fall really beautifully. I think it's going to be gorgeous, and I'm very excited to work on that project. And the last fabric I have is for a bit of a more involved project, and that is I want to make my own Indian block print fabric. I did buy at the Stitch Festival my block. I might have even bought this at the Knitting and Stitching show last year. It's these beautiful tulips. I really love tulips. They're my favorite flower. And what I thought would be very fun would be to do a mix of colors of the tulips. So I have bought from the same company online. They're called the Indian Block Print Co. Indian Block Print Company, but I think their website is Indian Block Print Co. And I bought 4 colors. I picked these colors out because I thought that they would work well for my coloring, but also work well together. And the idea is that I would use khaki first. And what I want to do is make a whole block, all of it the same color, blocked down in the green. That it's called khaki, even though it's a green color. And then I want to do the other colors layered over the top. So block print, the way it typically works is you'll be like layering up multiple layers of using the same block or blocks that have like pieces missing from the other section to create an overall design. But I think it will look really cool to be able to see some of the green peeking around the edges of the other colors on the tulips. That to me is very much the joy of Indian block print fabric, when you can see that things are just a little bit irregular. You can see the hand that created it. That's the joy of it being a handmade printed fabric, and that's what makes it a little bit more special. And I haven't decided, I feel like I might do like 2 of a color and then 2 of another color rather than doing like 4 and 4, because if I'm doing loads of them in a row, I feel like having 4 all in a row would be quite odd. Obviously I could do just like individual colors and alternate them, but I feel like that's going to be really faffy when I'm trying to cover the whole piece of fabric. So the idea is that I'm going to be doing all this block printing on a big piece of fabric, and then I will cut out my pattern pieces from that. And I have picked this fabric, which is definitely a very unusual, less typical fabric. It's something that I was not familiar with, but I was very curious about it when I saw it. This is a cotton modal blend, so it has really wonderful drape because of the modal. It does have more structure though because of the cotton. It's actually more structured than I was expecting. It feels a little bit, I don't know, thicker perhaps, a little bit more robust than I was expecting. I've bought cotton modal jersey before, and I feel like it's generally a bit softer and drapier. This is a little bit more like holding, as you can see its shape. This is kind of like the linen, has that bit of a like bounce to it, but in a more exaggerated fashion. And I think this would be really fantastic for like a dramatic puffy sleeve. Now this is very much like a bright, crisp white, more than I was anticipating. Indian block print fabric is often printed on more of like an off-white background. It's also pretty much always printed on this fabric that I was showing you here, this like really super lightweight cotton fabric, lighter than a cotton lawn. It is super, super thin. I thought it would be fun to use the Indian block print on a less typical fabric, because that is the whole thing of making it myself. I can make something a little bit more bespoke, a little bit more unique. But again, I feel like this is a very crisp white for the colors that I have. I'm just going to show you so that you can see the contrast of what I'm talking about. And so I think I want to dye this fabric to make it a little bit less white. And so I've bought this dye. It's a RIT dye called Taupe. Now my intention is to not dye it completely dark like this. I feel like I want to show you all these colors together, and this is so not the way to do it, but you get the idea. But yeah, so I want to do it with the RIT dye, because what I like about this is you can put the fabric in the dye and take it out when you get the color that you want. You're not stuck with like the full concentrated color. And I just want to add a little bit of it. I think just take a little bit of that crispness off, just to make it a little bit of a softer white. And then I think it will work better with these colors. Now, what I am thinking with this, like I said, I think this fabric will have really great body and bounce, and it will be great for some gathers. And what I want to do is make the Anna Allen Anthea blouse. I've made 2 versions of this one. My longer sleeve version, that's more like the standard version, is my favorite one, and I basically want to just make that in this fabric. I've also made the hacked version with the lower neckline and a shorter sleeve with some shirred section, which is a tutorial on the Anna Allen website with some pattern pieces if you're curious to check that hack out. But I want to make the original version. I want to make it in this fabric. I think it will be very light and lovely and floaty. But I do have to play around with the block printing. I've not block printed before. I mean, I've done like block prints onto cards before and even wrapping paper, but not a whole big piece of fabric. And so I know this is dye that is made specifically for this. And so you print it on, you let it dry, and then you do a heat press with an iron. So it's going to be a whole process to do this. And so that's why I'm glad that I'm choosing a tried and true, tried and tested pattern, one that I know is going to work well, because I don't want to end up with something that doesn't fit or I just don't like. So I'm going to go with a pattern that I know, and I am definitely going to do some testing on some just like plain fabric or plain paper to see how it's looking with my laid out design. I think it's going to be really cool when it's finished, and I'll be curious to see how the process goes. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I do always enjoy a little bit of arts and crafts and being a little bit more playful with my sewing. I think it'll be a fun project. Now, I'm not really thinking of this as a sewing plans video because realistically, a lot of these things I know I'm probably not going to be sewing anytime soon, but I was very excited about these fabrics, and I think it's really nice just to be able to share a little bit of inspiration, things that I'm excited about. I will say that if the mood strikes me, I may pull one of these projects out and work on it sometime soon, but I do think they're going to be amazing whenever I do manage to get around to them. I definitely feel like sewing planning and sewing itself are like two corresponding hobbies that work well together, and I do really enjoy the planning stage of things. I do really enjoy dreaming up different projects. I would love to hear your ideas on any of these fabrics, on any of these projects. If you've sewn any of the patterns that I mentioned, I would love to get your thoughts, your opinions on them. If you have other suggestions of things that I could do with these gorgeous fabrics, I'd love to hear about them as well. I hope you enjoyed my video today. Please do give me a like if you did. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you want to see upcoming videos, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!